You all recall that by Friday last week we were here, and when we came here, you guys also saw what happened. So that particular meeting served as if it was a prophetic engagement with you people. And just a little bit after that, 3 or 4 days, we saw what happened yesterday. I must tell you that all of us are stakeholders in this enterprise, this project. Anybody that will set out to stall a project that is dear to Nigerian should be considered as not only unpatriotic, but should be excommunicated from the Committee of Rational Human Beings. Having said that, of course, you know my name is Dr. Leonard Nzenwa, the chairman of IPAC in Nigeria, and lined up here are also the leaders of IPAC in Nigeria. I welcome you once more again to this particular press briefing. And I'm going to read a text of exactly why we are here today. And I want us to note very, very clearly that, as I always say, we are all stakeholders in this thing. It is not about you versus them. I tell you, if there's a crisis in FCT, now, every one of you will not have where to go to. So you can't cover that particular event, neither can you report it. So it's also, what is happening also is in Edo and Ondo. So what also happens in Edo also affects every one of us. What happens in Edo also affects every one of us. So you are welcome, and I'm going to give you the full text that we have here. Now, Inter-Party Advisory Council press conference held at the Council's headquarters, Abuja, on Tuesday, 11th August 2020. Gentlemen of the press, recent political and judicial development in our polity. IPAC insists that Edo and Ondo governorship election must hold as scheduled. IPAC insists that Edo and Ondo governorship elections must hold as scheduled. The Inter-Party Advisory Council is aware of the clamor for the September 19 and October 2020 Edo and Ondo state governorship elections, respectively, be postponed. The Council insists that the election must hold as scheduled, pursuant to the provisions of Section 178, subsection 1 and subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, and Section 25, subsection 7 and subsection 8, Section 99, subsection 1, Section 31, subsection 1, and Section 32, subsection 1, Section 34, Section 35, Section 46, and many others in that manner. As we are aware, all elections in the country as organized by INEC has a clear schedule with timeline that has been sanctioned and legitimized by the relevant provisions of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. And calling for the postponement of the polls is winding the clock backward, in addition to a waste of taxpayers' money and other negative impact on the polity. The Council disassociates itself with the call by our colleagues to stampede the Commission to hurriedly release the deregistered political parties. For an election that has gone 95% circle, we see this call for postponement of Edo and Ondo state governorship election as an act by unpatriotic Nigerians who resolve to throw this country into a political amalgam. The Council urges INEC not to be distracted by actions and inaction of some politicians who are inflaming the polity with incendiary statements and a clear intent to cause crisis in these states. And we must note that some of these politicians have been identified, and we're making everything possible to make sure that the state comes very hard on them, even as they pursue this very negative and diabolical means to disturb the peace and democracy in Nigeria. The Council is aware of plots to use these same disgruntled individuals and groups in the country to promote the stoppage of Ondo, Edo, and Ondo polls. We restate that for the growth and development of our democracy, all elections must hold, as millions of taxpayers' funds have been spent in preparing for them. The electoral process should not be derailed by ill-informed Nigerians and retrogressive forces. The leadership of IPAC is presently constituted will do everything within its power to stop activity of these anti-democratic forces who want to use legal ambush to stop the wishes and mandates of Edo and Ondo States people. IPAC urges Nigerians, particularly Edo and Ondo States indigenes, to remain calm, law-abiding, and be prepared to go to the polls on 19 September and 10 October 2020 to vote for their preferred candidates. We commend proactive response of INEC to approach the Supreme Court to determine the resolution of these conflicting Court of Appeal judgments on the registered political parties. The Council is aware of the Court of Appeal judgment of July 29, 2020, which affirmed power of INEC to deregister political parties in appeal filed by National Unity Party, which is now pending at the Supreme Court. On 10th August 2020, the Court of Appeal, in appeal filed by Advanced Congress of Democrats, ACD, and 22 others, nullified their deregistration by INEC. Nigerians are awaiting the final resolution of the issues raised in the two conflicting judgments. As a stakeholder, and the core stakeholder for that matter, IPAC will abide by the decision of the Apex Court. IPAC urges all Democrats in Nigeria to prevail on their spheres of influence, not to toe the abhorrent resolve of retrogressive politicians to unhinge the political stability of Edo and Ondo states, in the same vein for that of Nigeria. Finally, IPAC reiterates that it has only one leadership, as currently constituted in Nigeria, and is working with all stakeholders in the electoral system, including the core stakeholder INEC, and this leadership will always support and work with all stakeholders to ensure that the Edo and Ondo elections are held as scheduled. One more important thing I also want us to note here. As you leave here to go about distributing your reports, note that you are taking a great step in trying to see how you can stop the retrogressive forces to take us to the days of ABN. The retrogressive forces who want to use their personal reasons or whatever they want to use to stop an election that's almost completed. You all know we have a schedule, and we cannot afford at this stage to go back that particular period. So I thank you very much, and also ask you if you have questions to ask, you can direct us now. Thank you very much for coming, and God bless every one of you.
IPAC, representing political parties. We have never celebrated the deregistration exercise that took place in February. But that is not to say that our position has always been that until the courts says otherwise, the way it is the way it is going to continue. Now, in the text, as read out by the chairman, there are two conflicting judgments emanating from the same court. One says INEC has the power to do what it did. The second one says INEC has no powers to do what it did. And in that instance now, as political parties, it will be prejudicial because we are aware that the matter is before the Supreme Court. The first one that was taken to Supreme Court by NUP is still pending. And we also understand that the one of yesterday, there's also going to be an appeal on it, meaning that there will be two matters asking the Supreme Court to determine which way to go. At this level, we are not celebrating the pains of any political party, but we are saying that if the highest court in the land, which is the Supreme Court, takes a decision as to the direction to follow, we will willingly abide by that decision. And the text is very, very clear on that. Number two, you are aware that governorship elections are elections that must hold within time frames and schedules. What it means is that if a governor is supposed to leave office on the 30th of August and elections not to be held, that's the position of IPAC.
We live in a society where we have multiplicity of stakeholders. And so defining and determining these stakeholders is also a big task for many persons. You have a lot of stakeholders who are playing their roles from beneath. You don't know them. CUPP could be one of those stakeholders that are also playing his role. This is a large political space. So you have a lot of groups One thing that I relishes so much about statement is that it votes for democracy. Other steps will come to put them to check. So IPAC is doing so much, which you cannot release here as we go on this particular press conference.